want you all to know why Boris Johnson is responsible for David Dimbleby leaving the programme that was Panorama on the telly, yet that allowed all of the people that were going to be in front of the cameras, they had to be trained in everything they were supposed to say when they responded. It was Gordon Bowden and Peter Eyre who told me that they would not be allowed on the programme because they were protesters, in our democracy. And they are the people that got interviewed by the total deserters for our country, that are the false socialists, that were the interviewers, they were interviewed by Bowden and Eyre. That is the Miliband brothers who used to be on the committee of 300, and poor Fergie, she's now been deserted by the royal family, and she is the only one of them who's not on that committee, soaking up the riches of the world. And all of the European politicians that are on the committee at 300 are now their rivals in the buffoonish Muppet show that is European government. And the Americans are no better. All of them are descended from the deadly families, and that's why we found Dimbleby on the Irish revolutionary family trees when I was investigating the Irish Troubles. And this is the exposure by Boris Johnson that David Dimbleby was a Bullingdon man. His dad used to make the videos in Bergen-Belsen showing what happens when the fascists like them are allowed to take charge of the world, with the Rothschilds paying all of them to become Rothschild family members as inbred bastards using the cigar tubes. Okay, so what happens is that Boris is accused by this one, who's the legendary Orange Revolution families, that include Boris's rivals for the prime ministerial job. That is the one that was, he was the secretary for Iraq, and his name is, it's the same as the councillor for Jedburgh, Rory Stewart. That they have doubles and repeating names so that the whole world can be misled in every news bulletin that you ever hear. Okay, so what happens, as you'll see, is that he says that Boris is a Bullingdon boy, and I think you will be able to work out why he knows that. And that is the response is immediate by Boris. He says, Dimbleby, that man is a Bullingdon boy. Okay, that's now the Prime Minister, and immediately Dimbleby was relieved of his job at Panorama and replaced by Fiona Bruce, who has no one on her family tree, because all of them are the treasonous families that turned their heads and their backs to the countries that they used to represent, and that is Robert the Bruce, who was actually fighting in the battles for Longshanks. That is, her name is Fiona Bruce. They have no one on her bloodline tree. And I've just discovered this week that Epstein, that is the sex criminal, that is Jeffrey, is the son-in-law of Robert Maxwell, and his live-in lover is actually the person that is descended. She's Maxwell on the family tree. They had pictures of Robert Maxwell and her, but now they have all been taken off, and it now just says private. I've got those pictures on this computer. And that may be the reason why there are so many attractive young Rothschild women in the town today, all of them will have to have their umbrellas up, because the whole story is the manipulation of the monarchy by them for nearly 170 years now. And we can't have grass cutters in the high street because there is no grass. Right then, and there are the Bullingdon boys. So let's just make a little video of that. And there are the audience. All of them are the familiar buffoonish faces, like the one that is Rory Stewart's, who was the governor for fucking Iraq. Yeah, all of them live in those massive mansions that are named after now they're named after the rock concerts that took place in those places when they were planning the Orange Revolution all across Europe. Yeah, and that is with Donald Trump's family. His family, like the Bushes, are within 5 degrees of Queen Victoria. Right then, let's have a listen and let's see if we've got the volume right. She's on the Rothschild payroll. All of that was made in my videos that were made in Kirknewton in the son of the ducal presence that is the Duke of Buccleuch, who was legless since the war. Yeah, all of them are lookalikes for that Duke of Buccleuch. My host's name was Croft, and his dad was an absolute dead ringer, doppelganger for the Duke of Buccleuch, but he did not have a wheelchair, and he was not in Colditz like the real Duke of Buccleuch. All of that has now been taken off the Wikipedia profiles for that Duke. That is the massive ducal presence that are the polo playing families that live in Dalmahoy. Yeah, that is the polo players like Fergie who are from Argentina. This time it's the Morton family who are the butchers in World War I and World War II, but their official name is Batman to Winston Churchill and Butcher Haig, from the Scottish borders, with their museum in the Royal fucking Mile. So she's Shirley Williams on Lynn Forrester de Rothschild's payroll. You should watch those videos on my website before they take them off it, like they have done with all of the politicians that were my political representatives in Scotland, and they have now, by making anti-Semitic comments and writing articles themselves on Wikipedia, they have now obfuscated the fact that the real purpose of that video was to respond to my received letters to the Scottish Justice Secretary on the Trident nuclear scandal that was happening in the Clyde River Valley at that time. That is John Lamont, that is Paul Wheelhouse, and their story that they launched into Wikipedia, and which made me cite it, that Wheelhouse was a Jew shooter, yeah, ordering the deaths of the Jews. And now none of those videos which show you all of the evidence and the director details for the nuclear extinction threat in the River Clyde Valley, all of them have been banned by YouTube and totally removed from the social media. Right then.
Can we not just have a government that actually does its job? You know, I mean, we have teachers that do their job and we have other sectors that do theirs. So how is it so difficult to get a job that a government that can actually...
So it was Peter Eyre and Gordon Bowden who told me that if you wanted to ask a question on these programmes, you had to be pre-screened, you had to rehearse it, And if you started to stammer or move away from the original theme that you had rehearsed, yeah, in front of the audience that is there, yeah, so that's why all of this is spontaneous, yeah, and that they're all the geekish looking families that became the leaders of our country, like Rory Stewart's family, with massive mansions that get named after the pop and rock concert venues. Rock Savage, Geeks.
Run this country in a satisfactory manner? Well, I mean, I think it's worrying, and what worries me about the Tories is the way, and don't get me wrong, I'm no big Brown-eyed fan. I don't like the fact that he's an unelected leader. I think there are lots of question marks over the Labour administration. So that's not a partisan point. But what really bothers me about Boris's Bullingdon powers, and in particular, Dimbleby, he's a Bullingdon man. Can you be quiet, Boris?
So that is David Dimbleby, whose dad went to the death camps in Gusen, I forget what it was, in Germany, yeah, immediately after the conquest of Germany had happened, using Ike Eisenhower, who's a relative of the Dietrich families from Germany that joined America halfway through the war. And that's the Hercules Dietrich tribes that include a man called Elton Hercules John from Watford, like my wife. So it was not Mauthausen, that is the scam that the Justice Secretary has pulled on me to get the videos on my letters to him off the internet, and to mean that they have the right to interfere with my website, and they've permanently deleted the video on the signed letters that I had on the board members of the Trident nuclear extinction threat that was run by a mercenary army leader called Tim Spicer on the directorates with all of the world's secrets. Yeah, like this one.
In particular, George Osborne is nicknamed, by the way, as Boy, among his friends.
All of them are Bullingdon boys. Osborne was thrown out of office because he has massive estates in Ireland, and his family are on the Doomsday Book carve-up.
Is that his positions on all of these economic questions about the cuts have been a serious...
So the death camps were Bergen-Belsen, yeah, on the Baltic coast, which is the Hanseatic League, and all of the earliest division between plebeian families and plebs versus I can't remember what the other name is. Plebeian is just a down and out family. The real aristocratic families are the they are plebs versus it's not aristocrat, but the whole of the naming of the Baltic coast and the Hanseatic League is based on the division of the communities into those super rich, posh, toffee-nosed ones, and just the ordinary ones that are the soldiers. Plebs versus, you can work it out for yourself. You just look up the history of plebeian families. That's why the Speaker used to get into trouble, because he was part of that plebs versus... Anyway, let's now hear what Boris has to say. Yeah.
Flip-flops, and the gentleman at the back with a very fetching goatee and the stars combination rather had it right on this, which is that they're putting out enough mood music to cover the reality of what they're going to have to do. I bring you back to the... And they should be kicked out of office. They should be kicked out of office.
Right, Boris. Boris said it's 2 minutes. And I got my 1 minute, damn it.
None of them are. Can we not just have a government that actually does its job? You know, I mean, we have teachers that...
So you have to rehearse before you're allowed to ask a question. So somebody breached the rules, and that means that Fiona Bruce now has the job. She's part of the secret society, treasonous families that deserted Scotland. Way before Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon, who's still doing that, actually came to power. All of that is the joke that they are descended from the Orr Ewing families, that is Winnie Ewing, and that, for a laugh, is the launch of Dallas in the TV world, and that is J. Orr Ewing, the chief master mason, who lives in Scone Palace on the outskirts of Edinburgh. That is the meaning of life for all of these geek families. Okay, we'll just turn that off now. Oh no, we can watch it again just in case you did not believe what you saw.
Do their job, and we have other sectors that do theirs. So how is it so difficult to get a job that a government that can actually run this country in a satisfactory manner? We say that goes something. Well, I mean, I think it's worrying, and what worries me about the Tories is the way. And don't get me wrong, I'm no big Brown-eyed fan. I don't like the fact that he's an unelected leader. I think there are lots of question marks over the Labour administration. So that's not a partisan point. But what really bothers me about Boris's Bullingdon powers, and in particular, Dimbleby, he's a Bullingdon man. Can you be quiet, Boris? In particular,
I'm not running for office, Christoph.
he's not running for office. In particular, George Osborne, his nickname, by the way, is Oik, among his friends, is that...
Ike, do you get it? All of them are in the same warmongering families. That is Eisenhower, who massacred 2 million civilians and the raping of 2 million civilian women in Germany as they swept across to try and conquer Russia, before Hitler could. That is the oil wealth in Czechoslovakia, which is 10 million barrels per day. And that is the killing of 150 million people. 150 million people in the massive battles across Europe and at Stalingrad. All of it for the oil riches that the wars continued into the Balkan period, with Britain taking over massive amounts of the land mass so that they could become the owners of formerly indigenous peoples' oil, like they've done all over the massive American continent. And all of them know exactly what's happening because they are the secret societies and Freemasons and Skull and Bones families that have the world's biggest secrets, that mean that in wartime they have to make a sacrificial gesture and make it look as if they've gone to jail or onto the Isle of Man, which is the biggest joke in the world, which is the Isle of the man who wrote the Bible. And everybody that is in Parliament knows it, and that is why there are so many names that are related to the man. That is the Lehman Brothers in 2008 when they crashed the banks. And that is the Lehman football manager who's Le Man. All of them are descended from Arius Piso, like the Queen of England and the elite families that surround them. Every monarchy that is still left in the world are directly descended from the Christian serial killer that was Charlemagne, which is why Blondie sings Charlemagne with such relish. That is the killing of every pagan in Europe, so that they can become Protestants, Catholics, Episcopalians, Lutherans, and they can blow each other to bits again and again and again in the name of God who's been written out of the Bible.
His positions on all of these economic questions about the cuts have been a series of flip-flops, and the gentleman at the back with the very fetching goatee and the stars combination rather had it right on this, which is that they're putting out enough mood music to cover the reality of what they're going to have to do. I bring you back to...
Right then, signing off. For the moment, sorry, it's George Lees telling the story.